work.
Where's Eddie?
Not here, mate.
Who are you then?
Your conscience and I'm taking over.
You? But you're bald and ugly.
Truth hurts, don't it?
Maybe, but this show's not big enough for two of us.
There's enough hate mail to share between us.
Eddie likes me.
So much so, he isn't here.
That's a bit low.
There's more than just you who puts the boat in.
Tonight, Boots and All puts the referees in the spotlight. Is their standard up to today's pace? Anthony Sullivan in profile, following his father's footsteps to fame and fortune. One of the great old clubs, Lee, back on the road to the First Division. And as usual, a look at the best of the action with the Boots and All results roundup. It's a day later because of Sky Sports' exclusive World Cup cricket coverage, but glad you're with us, Boots and All. I think I can promise you a lively show this week as we turn the spotlight on the men in the middle. The referees controller, Fred Lindop, joins us to discuss one of the most contentious issues in the game, the role of the whistlers in a season where it strikes me more than ever the game, that's the players, coaches and supporters, have something to say about their performance. Well, one man who always has plenty to say is Alex Murphy, a legendary player, of course, and one of the biggest names in rugby league. He's now guiding Huddersfield back to the big time and is in the front line, of course, when it comes to those refereeing decisions. And when it comes to referees, a man who's always had his fair share of opinion, both as a player and now as a TV expert, Mike Stevenson's here with his own brand of what is right and what is wrong in the game. So I think we really do have all the right ingredients for a lively debate tonight. But we start this week with action from the big league, the Stones Bidder Championship. Our cameras were at Wakefield on Sunday for the official switch-on of their new floodlights. It was a carnival atmosphere before the match, and once the referee blew his whistle, the fun continued. Hallis is the dummy half, an attempted drop goal, and he's clipped it over. It's Mike Crane. Last tackle this. Bagnall shaped a kick, released it to Price. Price got it to Eden. Eden helped it on to Wilson. Good keeping alive. Perry in support. Oh, that's great stuff. Price in the corner. And Gary Price has picked a perfect time to notch his first try of the season. Good driving run from Paul Round. Wilson is in possession. Rovers in pursuit. I don't think they better stop Perry. Perry's legs are pumping. He's got the pace. He's got the try. Round is chip ahead. Collected by Hallis. This lad can move. And he's got three in pursuit. And he's beating Mason. And he's beating Lord. And he's got the ball over the top to Sodji. And that's a magnificent try from Hulkingston Rovers. Wakefield formidable here at home. Only Warrington and Hull have won here at Bellevue. We're at the end of normal time in this first half. Sodji! Oh, they're in again! Sodji's got one other. Sodji's second. Here's Sodji. Thought he was on for his hat-trick. He's ridden the tackle. He is on for the hat-trick. Brilliant! Brilliant from Sodji. This is the last tackle. Speckman with the high bomb. There's a tester for Andy Mason. He's dropped it. Oh, and Rovers are in. Is Billy Conway. Oh, that's great play. Round the back to Bell. And Nigel Bell will touch down under the sticks. They've kept it going. right the way to the end of Wakefield, but it is all too late. Well, Bright Sodgy's hat-trick rightly earned him the Man of the Match award from Mike Stevenson on the night. But again, we asked you to phone in with your vote for the man who most impressed at Bellevue. The prize, a replica jersey of your choice. And the viewer's choice was Bright Sodgy. Now, that's brought a smile to Steve-O's face, as for the first time, I think, you have agreed with him. And the viewer whose name was out of the hat first was John Camage of Ossett near Wakefield. All being well, Mr. Camage, you'll get your jersey shortly. Now, the big league match at Wakefield was just one of a series of great games played last weekend. Let's now take a look at the highlights from the rest. Challenge Cup quarter-finals are bruising affairs, and when local rivals are involved, they can become explosive. An early bout of fighting settled the nerves of Castleford against Featherstone, and then the football took over. Great support play from Castleford created the opening for the country's top scorer, Graham Steadman, to dive over under the posts. Just what Wembley means to the players can be judged by the reaction following Castleford's next try in the second half. From the play the ball inside the Featherstone 22, Cass swung the ball out wide, to where he nick out fed fellow Kiwi Richard Blackmore, and the celebrations began. Castleford are the Wembley dark horses this year, and their play here deserves to be part of the showpiece occasion. Nicow was again involved, and he found Graham Bradley. Grant Anderson continued the move. Nicow had picked himself up off the floor to feed David Nelson, who raced in for try number 3. Lee Crooks added the extra 2. It was 18-6 and looked all over. But then Rovers made a fight of it. Brendan Tudor started the move. It was carried on by Tim Sharp, whose pass reached Martin Pearson, and Ikram Butt was there to give Rovers the sniff of a revival. But Graham Steadman's drop goal in the 74th minute finally settled matters, and Kaz march on.
24 hours earlier, and Wigan's relentless pursuit of a 5th successive Challenge Cup continued against St Helens. Though it was a match not without its controversial moments. Phil Beavers will claim forever he knocked Steve Hampson into touch there. And George Mann and many Saints fans claim they had a perfect try disallowed when Hampson dropped the ball over his own line. But our position behind the post shows Mann clearly stole the ball from Hampson in the tackle. It was no try. Wigan should have had a penalty. The game almost boiled over when Rapati and Skerritt tangled. Rapati was sin-binned for this incident. And while he was off, Wigan took control. G. Miles slipped the ball to Botica, who had too much pace for the Saints' defence, and he had Sean Edwards in support. Alan Hunt reached him, but Edwards' momentum was enough to take him over. Despite the appeals for a double movement, our camera behind the post again shows otherwise. Mike McLennan had no complaints there. Saints finally got some reward when Bishop took a quick penalty, swept the ball wide. Rapati's pass was gathered by Conley, but it was too late. Wigan are 80 minutes from Wembley.
Warrington took on Leeds in the First Division, and both sides have title ambitions. But Warrington had the game won by half-time. The first try from Neil Kenyon, a great run that down the wing. Martin Crompton then showed why coach Brian Johnson has both him and Kevin Ellis in the same side when Ellis is fit. It was his invention that produced try number 2. And David Lyon should have scored a third try soon afterwards. Leeds defence stripped bare by Kenyon's pace, but winger Phil Ford recovered well to force the ball from Lyon's grasp in the tackle. Leeds did hit back. Golding's long ball out found international winger John Bentley. He rounded Drummond, but did he touch down? In slow motion, it appears that he didn't, but Leeds were awarded the 4 points. Warrington, though, opened up a 10-point half-time lead thanks to Alan Bateman. The Welshman was named in the Great Britain squad 48 hours later, and this is the reason why. Into the second half, and Warrington had the points in the bag. Dwayne Mann's drop goal clinching the win. Leeds must start winning soon, or they'll drop out of contention. They're at St Helens on Sunday night, live on Sky.
Widnes have had a dreadful run just lately, and bottom of the table Swinton took full advantage of that when they shocked them by taking an early lead. Ian Pickavant with a try. Both Widnes finally got their act together. Tate with a pass, Darren Wright on the wing, and he was unchallenged as he ran to the line. And that try was the signal to open the floodgates. Widnes defying the conditions, and Swinton, as they swept the ball wide. Tate found Devereux. The Welshman's strength carried him over.
Warrington played another fixture in midweek at Featherstone, and their championship hopes took a blow. 13-0 down at half-time. Andy Fisher scored just after the break. And 5 minutes later, Ian Smales wormed his way over from acting half-back. The pick of the tries came from inside the Featherstone 22, Chris Bibb with the break, and good support from Ikram Butt. The winger having too much pace for the Warrington defence, including Des Drummond. Warrington's only score, a late consolation effort from the Welshman Roland Phillips. Well, some great action there, and as you've seen, we've indicated a couple of the referee's decisions last weekend, but during our match at Wakefield, well, we've had a lot of letters about the try that won the game for Hull Kingston Rovers, and they all claim it was scored on the 7th tackle. Well, along with our guests, let's take a look at it now. Here it is. Now, Mike, you've got some views about this, because there's the interception, and there's the referee, and he's wiping the tackle count clear.
Well, he shouldn't do that, really. I mean, the interception, when the man was put down to the ground, that should have counted number 1. Simple as that.
Well, this is number 1, according to Brian Golters, but that's the second, we think.
Well, this is what's confused a lot of the viewers, and quite a lot of them have written in, and good luck to them, because really, they are correct. He should not have nullified. That should have been the first one. And in effect, they've had a tackle spare, and they score on it.
That's the 4th tackle, and here now, and you'll see after this one, or you would have done if you were watching on Sunday, we put in the corner of the screen 5th tackle. Now, according to our count, that's 5 tackles. According to the referee, this was tackle number 4, and that now is tackle number 5. We'll get Fred Lindop's view on this in a moment, I think, because a lot of the letters said that the try that is coming up now was scored on the 7th tackle. There's the bomb. Mason's about to spill it underneath his own posts, and Paul Lyman's in, and that's the try that won the match. Fred, was that 7 tackles? Was it 6?
No, it looked like 7, because the law states now if the ball is knocked on and someone dives on the ball without gaining any ground, that is not the first tackle. Well, in this case, it was an interception. And on the interception, Brian signalled that possession had changed, and then he was tackled, which is the first tackle. And from there, you should have 5 subsequent tackles to take it to the 6th tackle.
So was it just a genuine mistake by Brian? Did he miscount or what?
I think it was a genuine mistake, yes, which happens. It can happen in any game, cricket or rugby league, and perhaps it's a lapse in concentration, and it was a mistake.
But it seems to happen quite a lot, though, doesn't it, these days, Fred?
No, I don't think it does.
You don't?
I disagree with you, yeah.
Well, the fans seem to think, really, that the referees are missing these things a lot more than what they were years ago.
Well, that's a load of rubbish, isn't it?
Well, I only read the letters,
well, fine.
and I agree with them, and sometimes...
You're a bit out of order there, surely, aren't you, Steve-O? I mean, we have the benefit of hindsight and video replays. I mean, this is a fella here who's in the game. You don't agree with that, do you?
Yes, I do. Yeah, I do. I actually do. I think a man should be able to count to 7. Well, 6, actually, in that case. Will he pay Wakefield winning money? Which the lads got after that, missing that try. It was 3-point difference. They kicked the goal, they lost the game with it, officially. Now, what I'll say to Fred is, will Fred do anything about that? Will he say to this guy, listen, you've got to go back to school. You can't count, or you don't know the rules.
But I think, to be fair to Brian Golters, it is a genuine mistake. He's gone for 6,
but we keep
and it was 7.
We keep having mistakes.
Eddie, when players make mistakes as drastic as that, Alex is a coach, you drop them. Would you drop him for that?
No, because a referee cannot rectify what he's done. A player can rectify by playing better and playing out of his skin. A referee, once he makes a mistake, sometimes he doesn't even know he's made a mistake.
But surely you have the authority, Fred. You are the boss.
Yes.
You're the guy that controls these merry whistleblowers.
That's right.
Now, surely you must bring this guy in and bring it to his attention, or
Well,
what do
Eddie-
you actually do?
Well, Eddie asked about what's to be done with him, what we'll do, what I do when I find mistakes like that. The first thing I can't do is destroy his confidence. So we would sit down as a group of referees, purely referees, and I can edit out these clips and we'll say, right, look at this, 1, 2, 3, 4. I did it with an obstruction try. And we looked at this, and then we discussed why the miscount came, for what reason. There can be several things, but I think the prime reason generally is a lack of concentration at a vital time.
Have you got a big queue, Fred?
We've got to leave this
queue at your
because
office?
we're going to be coming back to the referees' debate, obviously, as the evening progresses. Plenty to talk about there, plenty more to talk about to come as we tackle Rugby League's biggest issue. After the break, we talk refereeing again with Fred Lindop and Alex Murphy. Don't miss it.
On Sunday, we bring you the big match in the big league exclusively live. With 3 vying at the top, it's a match that could determine the title. In association with Stones Bitter, St Helens versus Leeds. Sunday at 6 on Sky Sports.
Arthur, we're on air. Yes, well, ladies and gentlemen, as you probably know, for years Arthur's been saying he'd never put his name to anything but cattle meat. Then, recently, he agreed to let us actually start calling cattle meat Arthur's. Tell us, Arthur, do you have anything to add? Arthur? Arthur? Yes, well, thank you, Arthur. Arthur's. No other cat food is worthy of the name.
When I grew up and fell in love, I asked my sweetheart what lies ahead. Will we have rainbows day after day? Here's what my sweetheart said. Hey, Sarah, Sarah, whatever will be, will be. The future's not ours to see. Que sera.
You never know what your future holds, but at least with Pearl, you should be able to afford it when it happens.
Que sera, sera.
The future's yours with Pearl.
Chocolate. Chocolate.
Thinking about the chocolate. Thinking about the chocolate. Thinking about your taste. Thinking about your chocolate. Thinking about your taste. Thinking about your taste. Thinking about taste.
A ringside special brings you the rematch. Azuma Nelson and challenger Jeff Fennick. After a controversial split decision, Fennick the Thunder from Down Under is back. And for the second time, it's war.
There is no loser. This fight has got to be a return match.
Ringside special, Sunday at 10 on Sky Sports.
Welcome back. We'll be talking refereeing shortly, but you may remember on our first Boots and All, we looked at the new Rugby League Academy, the training ground for under-18 players. It looked fine on paper, but the real test of the new competition has come in 2 test matches against the French. Great Britain won in France a fortnight ago. This week, the 2 sides met again at Wigan.
Britain never found it as easy as their comfortable 28-7 victory in France. The French team led early on. Philippe Ricard shrugging off British captain Steve McCurry and running fully 40 yards to score. The French had made a series of changes to their old side, and it certainly paid off. It was against the run of play when Britain went level. That came through a well-worked solo try. Wigan standoff, Jason Robinson made the break. To add to his growing reputation, he's a product of Hunslet Schools football in Leeds, but was quickly snapped up by the Wigan club. You can certainly see why. To the surprise of the crowd, Great Britain then went further in front. Another Wigan player, Paul Stevens, supplying the final pass to the prolific Salford winger Phil Cousins. He scored twice in a test in France as well. The French, though, back level by half-time. Loose forward Banet held short. Hooker Soulon burrowing over from the play the ball. This game further proof of the quality of junior rugby every week, and the French were back in front just after the break. The first successful kicker goal of the game, a Bardi's penalty, making it 10-8. Britain equalised soon after, and the game all set for a tremendous finish. Gareth Stevens' pass intercepted by centre Pierre James, and the Frenchman running all the way to the line unchallenged. France in front for the third time in the game. But that lead wasn't to last, and it was the substitutes that helped Britain back level. Christian Tyra of Widnes linking with Mick Cassidy of Wigan, and the try for Leeds winger Anthony Barrett. Great Britain 14, France 14.
A couple of those young guys out there wouldn't disgrace themselves in the under-21s, in my opinion. I think young Robinson that you saw score that try, he's an absolute genius. I think he's a crossbreed between Ellery Hanley and Henderson Gill. I think he's just got some or all of their characteristics between them, and lots of others. I thought that Mather, the big 6'7" forward, who's a back row forward, he's not really a prop forward, he just filled in for us there tonight. He's a star of the future, along with many others.
No wonder he looked fairly pleased. Maurice Lindsay, the Great Britain manager. You were there, Steve-O, you were impressed.
Unbelievable. The talent that was on display that night. Well, it augurs well for the future of the game, on both sides. The thing that disappoints me, is the fact that we keep seeing the French youngsters come over, and they showed tremendous pace and skill, and yet we lose them. And we all know where they go, don't we? They get snapped up by this unprofessional game called rugby union in France. We just seem to lose them.
But, I mean, as far as Great Britain are going to be strong in the future, Alex, and by the looks of things, with those kids playing the game, we are going to be strong, aren't we?
Well, what we've been saying is we really have not got an out-and-out number 7 with pace. We just saw a kid there with pace, electrifying pace, and that's what we need. We need 5 or 6 professional players coming through the ranks, and there's a lot of them. There's a lot of them in the pipeline. I think in 4 years' time we should be really riding high. We'll tater Australia. We really will.
I hope we tater them, to use your words, this summer. Now, today's big talking point is refereeing. Every week, our mailbag is full of complaints from fans about refereeing standards. In a moment, we shall be talking to Fred Lindop, but first, Peter Hutton looks at the current situation.
Like the old screen villains, they dress in black and they're about as popular. Booed on and off the pitch wherever they go. So, why do they do it? It's certainly not the money. A British Rugby League referee is paid about £90. That's less than football, a lot less than in Australia, and a fraction of a test match cricket umpire. They can earn £300 a day for a 5-day test match. So, is it the power? Well, not this season, it seems. Time and again we've seen players sent off, only for the bans to be reduced on appeal, or even the players found not guilty. It seems a referee's decision is not always final. Australian Eddie Ward's over here to referee the Great Britain-France test. He says the motivation of a referee is clear. It's a simple love of the game.
I get a lot of enjoyment out of it, most of the time. Sometimes you don't. Some of the criticism you get, you don't like it and it gets to you, but most of the time you can laugh it off and you know you're doing your job the best you can, and straight down the line, that's all you can be asked to do.
In Australia, of course, he's helped by in-goal touch judges, an innovation wanted here by St Helens coach Mike McLennan after a couple of dubious decisions recently. The extra pair of eyes obviously helps the referee, but in Australia, they still get plenty of stick.
You know, when you're out in the field, you just go out there and do the game the way you see it, and if you do something wrong or you're proven wrong, if you are honest, you made your decision honestly, that's all you can do.
But referees will always make mistakes, and television will always show them. At Headingley this season, we highlighted this Des Drummond try that was allowed despite a knock-on. But are referee standards improving? And are the TV and the fans fair to referees?
Good question that Peter Hutton has posed there, Fred. When you see incidents like that, how do you feel? Do you squirm? Do you say, well, mistakes will be mistakes? What do you think?
When I see them as a controller, I squirm. like any other referee would squirm. But when a referee is referee, he gives a decision instantly. That's all he can do, and he doesn't even know he's made a mistake. He thinks he's right by what he's given, and many times he has to give a decision on the intervention of a touch judge or the guidance of a touch judge, which might be wrong, but he will support his colleague always, and that is something he has to live with. But what is very difficult to live with when people like yourself and other commentators would come back and show the video instant replay, which is wonderful hindsight. He hasn't got that. He's got one flash, one decision, and he stands or falls by what he gives.
The thing that the public will say, I know, is that the players are tried by video. Why shouldn't the referee be tried by video?
When a player's tried by video?
At the disciplinary committee.
Right, that's when they've committed foul play, which is only fair. A referee, generally behind closed doors, is tried by video, in my case. I don't make my feelings public, I don't think I should do, but we will sit down and analyse a lot of clips which I can get hold of. I have now 3 schools of excellence where they train very hard, they train like athletes, and also we discuss all the so-called ills of refereeing behind closed doors to try and learn from what we're doing and what we're doing wrong.
Alex, you're in the front line as far as the game is concerned. Are you happy with the standard of refereeing at the moment?
No, definitely not. And I do not agree with Freddie. I mean, Fred's been in the job now 3 years, and I can honestly say, and I think the public are saying, that the standard of refereeing at this moment in time, at all levels, is going down the tubes. And I will honestly say, I don't think we can name 5 top referees. Robin Whitfield, Smith, John Oldsworth, and these guys, they're feeling the pressure so much because what Fred's doing with the refereeing game is he's putting juniors into professional matches and just throwing them in the arena. They've not learned the trade, they've got a problem, they don't understand the rules, they've never communicated with players, and this is a problem they seem to have. I don't know what is with Fred.
Alex, I'm with you all the way, because I think that is one of the big problems, is that there seems to be a lack of communication between referees and the players.
Fred,
now,
you tell referees
no, let me
to
go
go
back to
home after
Alex.
the game.
Alex is saying I'm throwing juniors in. These guys I'm throwing in have served their apprenticeship. They've come through 18 football. A high proportion now are ex-professional rugby players, which they've never been before. Suddenly we've got 5 or 6 ex-professional rugby league players coming through, so they've played the game, which is advantageous. And now to say they're only juniors is a nonsense. They're not
Fred,
juniors.
I'll ask you a question. Why can't we have consistency? Why can't we have, throughout the league, consistency? Because that's all the supporters want. We don't, look, I don't want to crucify the referees, but I do want them doing week in and week out the same things. Yes, they're right. There can't be one rule. You've got a thing now with the scrummaging. We are told that the hooker and the scrum half is allowed to feed the ball behind the hooker's feet.
No.
Well, what is he allowed to do then?
Well, you were at the seminar. We said it must touch the hooker's foot. We didn't say what you've just said.
Well, let me put it this way.
Well, they must have feet and legs about 10 foot long.
No, let's go back to the consistency point of view. We talked about consistency. We met the coaches. We did it at Old Trafford for the first time ever, where we had, I thought, a reasonable discussion. With
but they all went home confused, Fred.
No, they didn't. A lot of coaches wrote to me and thanked me for that afternoon.
Excuse me, Fred. Have you been told by the powers that be to just let anything go at the scrum?
No, I haven't, no. We are compared every week with rugby union scrums, which is the platform for their game. So
it's not the platform for our game.
No,
let them keep what they want.
No, you asked me a question, let me finish.
You're talking about scrums, you've got a hooker and a scrum half here against you, so you're fighting a losing...
Well, the pair with the biggest cheats go in when they play as well.
Listen,
he's the only man I penalised for getting the ball out of the scrum with his head. Because they call him the armchair. He was
well, that's how I lost my hair, Fred.
Well,
but I mean, that's not... Look, we're getting off the track because... what is your criteria? You said that you bring... I mean, there's a lot of young referees coming in now. Now, what's the criteria? Evidently, the fitness is one of the major points.
No, it isn't. No, it isn't. Fitness is a small percentage of a referee's makeup.
Well, maybe you could explain to the public what is the criteria for him to make the top grade.
To select a referee.
Yeah.
Right. I have 3 coaches, all ex-Grade 1 referees, and I talk a great deal with them. I have assessors who are ex-referees, and I talk to them, and they put forward factors which they feel makes a top-flight referee. So then we get these guys in the training camps. Well, you will agree that the fitness level has been raised dramatically over the last 3 years.
Can't argue with that.
Right.
What I can argue with, but it's not just about fitness.
The trouble is that Mike Stevenson will argue with anybody, and the trouble is also he's hogged the limelight yet again. We've run out of time. Can you believe it? And Alex Murphy sitting here squirming on his seat and desperate to get in. I'm sure we'll hear from Alex before the end of the show again, and no doubt we'll come back to referees. Well, we've been on Fred's territory long enough, I think. It's time to concentrate on Alex's old territory at Lee. And coming up after the break, we look at the club that has come back from the dead. Welcome back. I tell you why you've been away on the commercial break. The debate has been raging here in the studio about referees. We'll try and come back to it if we have time. But now we turn our attention to the second division and the battle developing between Sheffield Eagles and Lee for the championship. Sheffield were always expected to return to the top flight immediately, but last summer Lee were on their knees financially with their very existence under threat. Now they sit on top of the second division table and the proud old club is looking towards a bright future. Lee's revival over the past 12 months is one of the furry stories of the modern game. This time last year they were facing extinction, crippled by debts, with players threatening to quit. They're founder members of the league, having met at the George Hotel in 1895. And the last time they were in the big league was 2 years ago. So Lee is a club with a glorious past. Jeffrey's heading for the post. Devereux misses him. And Jeffrey touches down. Champions as long ago as 1906, they shocked the game with that title in 82. And their second Challenge Cup was inspired by Alex Murphy. But they've claimed the majority of their silverware in the second division and the County Cup. Faded memories of the early pioneers. The modern Lee history is dominated by the men who went to Wembley 20 years ago. But what of the future?
Playing our cards pretty close to our chest, but we obviously expect to be here for quite a long time to come. The finances, we've got modest contracts here. We've got contracts which we can afford. We're not sort of trying to kid anybody and give people big contracts because we can't afford them. And we're telling players the situation and they're delighted to be signing for us. Shaping Lee's destiny now is Kevin Ashcroft, a Wembley hero of 71, who took over from Alex Murphy.
It's phenomenal when you think about it. I mean, the first training session, I think with 9 players actually trained. And we've turned it round and we're the top of the league. Nobody expected it. We just, hopefully, was going to stick in the second division and build for the future. And it's just gone head over heels. We're now looking first division in the face, and it's frightening, really.
Lee's future is built on youngsters like Jason Donoghue, named this week in the under-21 squad.
Since being 8 years old, I've always supported the club and my ambition was to play for Lee. And then when I got the chance, I snapped the chance up and, you know, I've been here through thick and thin. And now we're coming together. You know, hopefully the future's here for me.
A Lee legend will forever be remembered at Hilton Park. John Woods is the club's record point scorer. He left 2 years ago, but is now back and heading for Division 1.
Wish I'd never left in the first place. I shouldn't really have left, but the club was in financial trouble at that moment, and it meant me leaving the club, going to Bradford Northern. But I'm back now, and I'm enjoying my rugby back at Lee.
He emphasises everything about Lee, does John. The lads respect him, the town people respect him, and as long as John Wood wants to play for Lee, then we'll pick him.
And Lee are now odds-on to rejoin the top flight as champions following their win over Sheffield Eagles. Eagles scored a fine try, though, through Tomi Twimavavi. But Lee weren't to be denied. This was a superb advert for the top of the second division. David Hill running in from 40 metres for his second try. The Eagles made a stirring fight of it. Aston from the play the ball, sending in Hugh Waddle. But Paul Topping, Lee's skipper, crowned a fine personal display with his try 4 minutes from time. It was their 9th successive win. Lee's future now rests in the hands of youngsters who play each week in the shadow of the pit that surround the ground. And Kevin Ashcroft knows how important they are.
I think it's very important that we do keep to the local talent. It's very important that they know that we are looking at them, and them lads will be given a chance, because it's all right going out spending 200,000 and 300,000 pound on a player. I'd sooner spend like 20,000 on 3 or 4 good amateurs and watch them come through, because they can relate to the public.
We've got to talk to you, Alex, about Lee. You left them, of course, on the eve of the season. Whether of your own accord or not is debatable. But the thing is, did you expect them to be top of the table at this stage?
Yeah, I did. I didn't expect them to be doing what they're doing. But they've signed a lot more players since. But let's not get carried away. I don't think that... I keep listening to people saying that second division is stronger than what, it is. I think there's some very ordinary teams in the division, but I am pleased to see that Lee is the top of it. I'm pleased they will be going back into the First Division. But whether they can stay in that First Division is going to be on a matter of what they can sign next year, what kind of quality players they can bring to the club, and the most important thing, and I noticed John Stringer, missed this out, when are they going to buy the ground? Because if they think they're going to walk in and say, we've got the ground for nothing, I think they've got a shock. And he keeps telling me that Lee will be there next year. I think there's a lot of work to be done. They've got to find £650,000 to buy the ground, if not more. I want them to be there, but believe me, they've got a lot of hard work to do yet.
Well, I told you he's never ever short of an opinion. I came to you for a little tribute about Lee there, but you really...
No, listen, I love the club. I mean, there's no nicer club in the world for me than Lee. I mean, they're lovely people, they're a great set of lads, but they need to get their act together.
Well, let's hope they do by the start of next season and continue it through this. Now, this week, the Big League comes live from St Helens, where the league leaders play Leeds. It's a chance to see three of this season's Great Britain wingers in action. John Bentley, Alan Hunt, who's been picked for the international in 2 weeks' time, and Anthony Sullivan. Sullivan made his Test debut against the Papuans, but has been missing from the international setup since. Now his task is to force his way into contention for the Australian tour.
Anthony Sullivan exploded onto the scene as a teenager at Hull KR. His speed brought immediate comparison with his father Clive, one of the game's all-time greats.
It's Tony Sullivan who's got just the full-back Lyon to beat, and Lyon has been outstripped completely.
Well, I think it wouldn't be so bad if I didn't play in the same position. I think it's not so bad over at this club now. It was at Hull KR, I seem to get quite a lot with my dad playing there, of course. But, like, there's been some great winners at St Helens, so hopefully I don't want to be compared to them.
His late father's still an inspiration, but his son's now a saint, a full-time player determined to work in his game.
Well, I'd like to be scoring more tries. My handling the past couple of games, I've made a couple of daft mistakes that I shouldn't be making. Defensively, I've been playing a lot better than.
This year he's been hampered by injury, but on his Welsh debut, he was at full speed against the unfortunate Papuans.
Sullivan still. He's got great pace, this boy. Here's another try, and it's right under the sticks, and that's one his dad would be proud of.
Oh, that was great. I really enjoyed myself playing in that game. The build-up, the lads, everything was superb, and we're just now looking forward to playing against the French.
But how Welsh are you?
Well, you know.
I mean, did it really get to you as a Welsh man, though?
Not so much, because I've not been brought up in Wales, like in South Wales. The rugby means a lot to them down there, but I'm proud of being Welsh, yeah.
For the moment, though, he's just concentrating on his St Helens form, with half an eye on the Great Britain tour.
Everybody's pushing to be on this tour. I mean, it's really important for Great Britain, this tour. Yeah, I'd like to go on the tour. I'd like to play in a test football, yeah. If I don't get picked for the tour, I'd definitely like to go and spend the summer in Australia, definitely.
What do you think it could add to your game?
Well, I think experience. I mean, you can never have enough experience. At this stage of my career, that's what I need.
Always nice to have a Welsh accent on the programme, isn't it? Well, time now for our regular feature boss for the day. The man in the hot seat today is Salford's New Zealand coach, Kevin Tamati.
My first intentions will be to grade clubs, and those that don't make the grade will be scrapped, either scrapped or given the opportunity to amalgamate with a neighbouring club, thereby making the league a lot stronger than it is at the moment, and at the end of the day hopeful that we are able to make money. As far as the amateur game is concerned, a certain criteria will be added there. All those sides that are running in the national competition will be required to have a full complement of juniors, 7 junior teams, 2 youth teams and probably 2 senior backup sides to the National Cup, then I can be assured that we have development, we have future improvements, and those young kids that are coming through from the junior grade are either filtering into the senior side in the club or the professional ranks.
Well, amalgamation there hints at a Manchester setup. Alex, you say you're lovely. I wonder what they think of a Manchester club that perhaps doesn't include them.
I thought we wanted rugby league, you know, to prosper. Kevin's a New Zealand guy, talking about rugby league over here, amalgamating sides. What about in New Zealand? He wants to go back there and realise what the game is about there. Our game is going along very nicely, thank you. We're not doing too many things wrong, we're doing a lot of things right, and we're on the up. With a bit of help, we can go all the way.
New Zealand, to be fair, are expanding. They've got a team hopefully going into the Winfield Cup very shortly, but let's not sort of downgrade the game too much, and let's not downgrade what Kevin Tamati says. Let's get back to the refereeing, shall we? Because it was fascinating. Fred's gone pale. It was fascinating before to hear the views. Fred, as Alex has said, you've been in the job 3 years.
Yes.
Do you feel over your 3 years the standards have risen or the standards have dropped?
Well, when I took over, I had to look at what I'd got, and people were complaining more bitterly then than they are now, in all fairness. So I took a look at what I'd got, and I wasn't very happy with 1 or 2 of them, mainly because of fitness. I don't think you can be a good referee in today's game and not be fit, I'll be honest. You must have some athletic standard, and it plays a part in your mental ability and your athletic ability to be fit to referee at the highest level.
Alex, are they fit enough, the referees?
The super fits, probably the too fits. Maybe, I think we're lacking personalities as well. We're lacking people.
Personality, I think they do too much. I think there's 2 academy, I mean, when there's a try scored, it's
I don't mean that, I mean in a way where they can get onto a guy, they can control a game. I mean, Fred has been at the top for a long, long time. Been a great referee, and now he's got a very difficult job. But there is times, you know, when a little bit of a referee's know-how, when a player's running back and saying, listen, matey, once more, you know where you're going.
Yeah, but Ali, what you're describing there is experience. Now, this 60% of the referees gone in 3 years, for one reason or another, retirement, injuries, this sort of thing. So what we're looking at now is kids coming through with 1 year, 2 years experience, and I can't put experience there, only by doing the job.
Can we buy a sense of humour? Can we buy one?
No, but going back to the...
Why don't you become a referee?
I'd love it, I'd love it.
He always was a good referee, he was.
Fred, seriously, I mean, it's a hard job. We're fully aware of that.
Right.
Alex and myself realise that it's not the easiest job in the world. But do you feel you're getting the support from the bosses at the top?
No, that's a leading question. I won't reply to that. I get all the support I need in terms of financial support and this sort of thing, which I need for equipment, which I appreciate. But the referee, Alec, makes the point of this youngsters coming through with and no sense of humour. I think the lads coming through at the moment are of the highest quality. They're not named, fine. But
I've got them all, Fred,
right, in 2 or 3 years' time, there will be names.
Yeah, I hope so.
They'll come through, and I have every confidence in the kids coming through at the moment, I'll be honest.
I'm not knocking the referees to the extent where we're saying get rid of them. What I am saying is, why can't we be more realistic when we come in and say what we want and get involved with the coaches? We are now making ourselves not involved with the game. They have their own little room, they don't have a pint anymore, they don't talk to people anymore. And I know when you was referee, and I know you're going to say to me, you didn't do that, but you did at St Helens because you enjoyed the company there. But some of these guys, they've got the Ferrari outside or the Porsche,
they've got the bicycle outside.
Some of the expenses we're getting charged, I think they've got
Alex,
Ferraris.
In Australia, they are
We're going to blow the whistle. I'm sorry. We're going to blow the whistle on the discussion. No more. Well, no doubt there is a lot more controversy coming up, if there possibly can be any more after all this. After the break, we take the leash off Steve-O for our regular feature. Steve-O sounds off. We're back in a few moments.
You know, once upon a time when you scored a try, you were lucky to get a handshake from your teammates. Now it seems the norm is for at least a high five, a customary cuddle, and in some cases, heaven forbid, a kiss. Why our modern-day players have started to copy those overinflated stars from soccer leaves me dumbfounded. And certain players won't just leave it at that either. Not content with a live jive and a smackaroo on the cheek, they race towards the fans, inciting even more adulation by either blowing kisses, a la Pavarotti style, or waving their arms around like Magnus Pike. Now, such actions may be accepted by that player's supporters, but it does little to calm the nerves of the opposition's fans. And in my book, that could lead to the problems on the terraces. Now, last Sunday, Al-Kayar's try scorer Bright Sodji blew kisses to the crowd at the same time a Wakefield player was being treated for injuries received whilst attempting a try-saving tackle. To be fair, Sodji was unaware of the injury, but the Wakefield section of fans went wild, and there could have been an ugly incident between both sets of supporters. Now, great players in the past didn't get overexcited like today's heroes, and the sooner such antics are stopped, the better. Now, rugby league skills are exciting enough without players begging adulation in a team sport.
Well, I can understand why they didn't used to kiss you in your day. I mean, imagine kissing that face. But, Alex, all the way through that, you were nodding in agreement. You don't like this, the play acting and the antics to the crowd?
No, I'd be very concerned if somebody kissed me, I must admit. And,
well, a man.
Well, I cannot believe that we've got professional players now, once they've scored the try, they've done a great thing, why they can't get back and wait for the kick-off is beyond me. But we've started doing all kinds of little dances.
But you've just been calling for characters in the referees.
Yeah, but there's a big difference between characters.
We don't want disco dancers.
We've got, we want some characters.
We want some superstars in the game.
Superstars with their skills on the game of rugby league. That's what it's all about.
But if they can react to the public,
Eddie,
fine.
We don't need handbags and lipstick. That's what's going to happen. We're going to be blowing kisses to everybody. We don't need it. Look, I like people who wave to the crowd. Great.
Let's
have the rest of it. Let's forget about it, please.
I don't believe it, honestly.
Well, there's trends coming in.
I can't keep him quiet.
Let's not follow the footballers, please. We're not.
Steve-O's had his say about what you, the fans, think. Again, many thanks for all your letters, by the way, this week. The mailbag really has been bulging. Here is a selection of your views that you have been putting forward. First of all, Mr. A. Service of St Helens, who has views about the incidents we featured earlier in the Saints-Wigan Cup tie at the weekend. He says, one innovation which I believe must be copied from down under is the use of in-goal touch judges. The ball squirted out from under Hampson's body and was touched down by George Mann. Edwards clearly made a double movement to score the try. I don't know whether our pictures proved anything to you, but perhaps. From Sale in Cheshire, Mr. M. Brooks, who wishes to raise the persistent vilification of St Helens by Mike Stevenson. As you say, Steve-O, you can only call it as you see it. Well, try opening your eyes sometimes. And from Dan Hilton, age 9, from Wigan, when is high tackling going to be stopped? I play at under 10s, and we're not allowed to face squash like the men do. P.S. Hey, Mr. Lindop, sort it out. Fred, you're even getting battered now by the 9-year-old.
That's a fact, isn't it?
You must get a mountain of letters, I'm sure, every week from supporters all over the country.
Yes, I do, yeah. And it's something I have to live with. I can do with a full-time secretary answering critical letters, but refereeing, it's a contentious issue, I'm sure, in any sport, and no more so in rugby league, where the referee is part and parcel of the game, and his performance is also critical to coaches, spectators and commentators. So it's inevitable I will get the letters, yeah.
Well, thanks very much indeed to everyone who took the time to put pen to paper, including the one who asked me to be a bit nicer to Steve-O. Well, if you want to drop us a line, please do. We really do love to hear from you. Here's the address: Throwing Stones Mailbag, Sky Sports, P.O. Box 6, Isleworth, Middlesex, TW7 5QQ. Well, that's just about it for another week. Coming up on Sky Sports over the next fortnight, on Sunday evening at 6 o'clock, the Big League drops in on Knowsley Road for St Helens against Leeds. Ellery Hanley makes his comeback in a Leeds jersey for the first time since he broke his jaw, and we'll be there to assess his performance. The following week, we feature Leeds again in the big match against Widnes. It's a repeat of the Regal Trophy final, and Doug Lawton faces his former club once again. Now, we'll just have a last bit of chat before we go. I hope you've enjoyed it, fellas. First of all, Alex and Fred, thanks very much for coming in. Have you got your views across? Are you happy?
Yeah, we're mates. Me and Fred, don't get you don't get wrong idea. We're best of friends. I give my opinion, he gives his opinion. But at the end of the day, we'll go out and we'll have a pint, because he never buys any anyway, so, you know, my turn again.
Fred, I can't believe you don't buy a pint.
Yeah, I don't drink so much, that's the problem.
That's the problem with the referee. We found out. Drink more, you merry whistleblowers.
You think so? You think that would improve their performance?
Well, he couldn't do any worse, could he?
He always got to have the last laugh. As I say, all remains is for me to thank our studio guests, Fred Lindop and Alex Murphy, for providing some excellent debate on Boots and All this week. Plenty to get you fired up, I'm sure, and I look forward to reading your letters this week. Don't forget that big league match at St Helens against Leeds on Sunday at 6. Ellery Hanley comes back, and you'll be able to see him here on Sky Sports. Great match in prospect, Sunday at 6. Make sure you're not late.